Welcome back, everyone, to another segment of the MCR Mac and me. My name's TJ, two guys out of the Great Lakes state of Michigan. And for those watching us on Rumble, thank you very. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Where do you think that came from, Mac?
Well,
Wild guess.
I'm going to go. I'm going to be a Richard here and correct you. The term is actually everyone says mirror, mirror on the wall. It's actually a magic mirror on the wall. So
I'm glad you brought that up.
because you know what we like to pride ourselves on accuracy here at
Well,
the
where
MCR.
do you get that piece of information? And there is a reason for that trick question.
Well, I believe it's from the original movie, which
You
was
are
which was
correct.
an animated film.
You are correct. However, in the original Brothers Grimm, they do say mirror, mirror.
Okay.
And therein lies the first controversy to Disney.
Okay.
And I what I read was both ways are correct. Brothers Grimm, it's a Brothers Grimm fairy tale. And in the original Mirror Mirror, when Disney did their movie of the fairy tale. She called it Magic Mirror on the Wall, and I appreciate your pursuit of accuracy.
I knew you would.
And and again, you beat me to one of my points,
Okay.
but nothing new there. Anyways, this this latest remake of Disney's Snow White, it looks like it's going down in flames, and boy, am I glad. Opening day, they only pulled in 16 million. Opening weekend, they only pulled in 48 million. It appears that they produced it on a budget of 250 million.
Ooh.
So yeah, they're 200 million shy of even breaking even. Okay,
That's a
good for
flop.
them, I say. You know, uh, we're
And the
talking
reason,
about.
let's be clear, the reason you're saying that is because this is a woke operation.
Oh, you keep beating me to my point. Anyway, uh, yeah, this I was getting ready to say this movie is late in its release. I think they wanted to release it last year, and that Rachel Zegler, she kind of screwed it up going on her little roundabout tour. I mean, what actress? Well, I almost called her an actor. Does that even matter nowadays? But what actress in their right mind would would degrade a movie that they played a role in? You know?
Well, it
Eh,
has happened where people they weren't happy with it and they don't promote it and they badmouth it. There are other examples. I can't give you one off the top of my head, but I know it's happened.
It's just it flies in the face of reason. They pretty much produce the movie, and she goes on her little tour calling Prince Charming a stalker. A stalker? Oh my
So
goodness,
it wasn't woke enough for her.
probably. And instead of Snow White falling in love with Prince Charming, they make him out to be just some schmo. I don't even, and you know what? I did not see this movie, this remake, so I don't even know if he kisses her to wake her up. I don't know. All I know is all I know is Ziegler, by the way, with the help of Peter Dinklage, we'll get to him in a minute, okay? But Ziegler submarine the movie, and you know what? Good for Disney. Good is what I say. Uh, the reason why I mentioned Peter Dinklage, and I kind of like the guy. I thought he played a pretty good role in Game of Thrones. Okay, he's I don't know, gosh, and I don't want to offend anybody here. You could say he's vertically challenged, we'll say, okay, but uh, obviously he's probably only got a height of maybe 4 feet at most. But
Wow.
yeah, he's I don't know if you call them dwarfs or midgets or what the correct term is.
Little
And
people, I think, is the uh, pronoun of the day.
And I know there is a distinction between the two, and without getting into medical definitions, we'll just avoid that whole thing. But Peter Dinklage, he came out about referencing Disney, uh, and he did not want them to depict the dwarfs. Okay, and his words were, the original portrayal, going back to the Grimm's brothers fairy tale, and we'll say the original Disney movie, was effing backwards. And he didn't say effing; he used the fornicating word. Okay, effing backwards is Peter Dinklage's words. And so that got the ball rolling. Disney, in keeping with Peter Dinklage not wanting to be effing backwards, uh, instead of making these guys dwarfs, make them out to be misfits of sorts. And they were not animated; these are actual human characters, misfits of sorts. That alone created such a backlash. Disney had to hold off on the release. They had to re-edit, and they took out all the human actors for the I'm calling them the misfits because they weren't dwarfs. And then they had to use CGI and recreate the dwarfs using CGI in an effort to salvage Snow White. And it ain't gonna work. It
Well,
ain't gonna work.
here's your first problem in all of this, as I see it. Stop, come up with something new. Quit trying to remake everything. Because when you have to remake it, well, now you have to woke it or
Well,
modernize it where it ruins the original story.
and I don't know if this falls primarily on Kathleen Kennedy. I don't know the power structure within the Disney World. Because I know there's a Bob Iger at the top or something, and you can call some poor decision making on his part. You know, they purchased Star Wars, and I was a fan of Star Wars, the original, and they ruined Star Wars. I subscribed to Disney Plus some years ago because I wanted to watch The Mandalorian, and the first two seasons of The Mandalorian were pretty good, and then they had to wokeify that thing. Uh, Pedro Pascal didn't help with his political rants. Uh, Disney hire or fires the one female actress who was conservative because she came out and supported Trump, while Pedro Pascal was dogging on Trump. Boba Fett, they ruined that. The last three Star Wars movies were so full of woke that they did not live up to any Star Wars expectation of as with the originals. Uh, and you can throw in their conflict with Governor DeSantis down in Florida.
Right.
What is?
Well,
I would say, what is
I
wrong
think
with these
the
people?
answer
We
to
know
bring
what's
all of this
wrong.
I think the answer to bring all this nonsense to a halt is just start doing it the other way. For instance, uh, the Martin Luther King Jr. story starring Nicolas Cage, or Ronald Reagan being played by Will Smith, or I mean, sure we could come up with Gandhi being played by Rosie O'Donnell. I mean, just be completely absurd in the idiotic idea that you have to change, and in some cases historical. Snow White's fictitious, but in some cases, well, like that play Hamilton, they had to have a black guy playing Alexander Hamilton, who, by all recollections, was not black.
This movie is the latest example of go woke, go broke. Bravo. I have no desire to see it. I have no intention of seeing it, and I hope there's others out there of like mind
Well,
who.
there's another way to go about it. I mean, if you were on the other side of the aisle, you'd set the movie theater on fire
Ah, you know what? Yeah,
or
yeah. That
firebomb the
you put
houses
a
of the
twist
people in
like
the
that.
movie. That's what they would do.
Leave it to you to come up with that. That thought never even entered my mind. But you got a point.
Well,
You
when
know.
Bud Light brought out the man who pretended to be a woman and wanted to celebrate his first year as a woman, which he wasn't then and still is not. When they did that, people just quit buying their beer. They didn't set Bud Light trucks on fire, and they didn't burn down the distributorship, and so on and so forth. This is the difference
Yeah.
between us and them.
Yeah. And the last I heard, they do have trans guys breeding children there at their parks and venues and whatnot. And
Mhm.
I go back to the original Disney production, and if you had told me this kind of stuff 20 years ago, I would have went, no way.
Right.
Well,
Well,
man,
we could go through a laundry list of those things.
yeah, just this just blows my mind. But and then that Rachel Zegler dogging on. I listened to her. You know what? Here's the thing. I was listening to a podcast of Megyn Kelly, and she was ranting about this, and she did played a clip of Rachel Zegler saying, "Oh, yeah, Prince Charming. He's like a stalker," and
Grow up.
so much for innocent love and all that other good
Right.
stuff. It just they just ruined it. Just ruined it. They ruin everything. Ruin
Well,
everything.
they destroy everything they touch.
Yeah. So that's all I got. I keep venting, but time keeps me from. Anyways, we'll call this one a wrap, and we'll catch you in the next segment. Thanks, everyone. As always, be safe, watch your six, and don't tread on me.